Once upon a time in a faraway land, nestled between rolling hills and sparkling waters, there was a small village named Golabari. It was a place where life moved at the pace of the setting sun, where the air was sweet with the scent of ripe mangoes and freshly turned soil, and where the rhythm of the day was marked by the chirping of birds and the gurgling of streams. In this idyllic village lived a young boy named Rahim. He was only 10 years old, yet his heart was as big as the midday sun, and his smile could light up a room like 1,000 candles. Everyone in the village knew him as Shoner Cheli, which means the golden boy. Rahim's parents were poor, yet they were rich in spirit. His father, who was a farmer, had passed away when Rahim was just a baby, leaving his mother to raise him alone. Despite their humble circumstances, Rahim's mother was a weaver, and her loom sang tales of resilience and hope with every thread she wove. She was a pillar of strength for Rahim, teaching him not just about weaving cloth, but also about weaving dreams and chasing them with all his might. Rahim was a dreamer, yes, but his feet were firmly planted on the ground. He understood the value of hard work and responsibility. Every morning, before the rooster crowed its first song of the day, Rahim was up. He helped his mother with household chores, fed their hens, and fetched water from the nearby well. For him, these were not just tasks, but moments to learn and grow. He found joy in the smallest of things, a bird's nest in the mango tree or the playful antics of a kitten. His laughter echoed through the village, a melody that spoke of his innocence and purity. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, it was time for school. Rahim would grab his books and his trusty slate, and with a wave to his mother, he'd be off to his schoolhouse, a small thatched hut where children gathered to learn their ABC. On his way to school, he would greet the elders with respect, saying salam, and they would return the greeting with smiles, for Rahim was known for his politeness and good manners. One morning, as Rahim walked to school, the air was filled with a strange sound. At first, he thought it was the call of an exotic bird. But then he realized it was an animal sound he knew well, a sound that sent shivers down his spine. It was the sound of a cow in distress. Rahim stopped in his tracks and listened intently. The sound seemed to be coming from the edge of the village. Curiosity and concern tugged at him, and he decided to investigate. He walked towards the sound, pushing aside the tall blades of grass that tickled his ankles. And there, in a deep and narrow ditch, he saw the most pitiful sight. Uncle Karim's prized cow was stuck fast. It had slipped and fallen into the ditch during the night and couldn't get up. Its eyes were wide with fear and its breathing was heavy. Other children who had gathered around were pointing and whispering, but none of them were willing to go near the ditch. They were afraid. But not Rahim. Without a second thought, he put down his slate, wiped his sweaty palms, and jumped into the ditch. The other children gasped, but Rahim was already up to his task. He tied a sturdy rope around the cow's neck, making sure it was secure. Then he called out for help, his voice ringing with determination. "Uncle Karim, come quick, please." Soon, Uncle Karim arrived, his face creased with worry. With Rahim's directions, they managed to pull the cow to safety. The animal collapsed onto the ground, exhausted but unharmed. Uncle Karim rushed to his cow, his face breaking into a relieved smile. Turning to Rahim, he said, "Rahim, you have the heart of a grown man." Rahim just nodded shyly. He had done what he felt was right, and that was enough for him. He dusted himself off, picked up his slate, and went back to school, a little muddy but very proud. The incident with the cow made Rahim even more popular in the village. People often remarked, "Just look at Rahim, a small child with such a big heart." However, Rahim's journey was not just about helping animals. It was also about helping people, especially those in need. One sunny afternoon, as Rahim walked home from school, he spotted something unusual under a large tamarind tree. It was a small leather bag, no bigger than his fist. Rahim, being the curious boy that he was, couldn't resist the urge to investigate. He picked up the bag, and as he did, he heard a faint sound, like someone trying to speak. Startled, he opened the bag, and what he saw inside made his eyes pop. It was filled with shiny gold coins, more money than Rahim had ever seen in his life. Rahim could have easily pocketed the coins. No one would have ever known. But something inside him, something his mother had instilled in him, wouldn't let him. Instead, he closed the bag tightly, stood up, and started walking towards the market, calling out at the top of his lungs, "Hey, everyone, has anyone lost a money bag?" His voice echoed through the market, reaching the ears of a wizened old woman named Aduri. She was known for her warm smile and her delicious samosa. But today, her face was etched with worry. Upon hearing Rahim's call, she hobbled towards him, her hands shaking slightly. "Is this bag yours?" Rahim asked. Dadu Razia looked into the bag, her eyes welling up with tears. "Yes, it's mine," she whispered. "I dropped it while returning from the hut, and I didn't realize until just now." Rahim handed the bag to her, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. Dadu Razia looked at Rahim, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You could have kept it, Rahim. No one would have known." Rahim shook his head, a smile lighting up his face. Amu says, "Taking what isn't yours darkens the heart." Dada Razia embraced Rahim, her wrinkled face creased with emotion. "You are a good boy, Rahim. A truly good boy." News of Rahim's honesty spread like wildfire through Golabari, making him even more respected in the close-knit community. As the monsoon season approached, the weather started to change. Dark clouds gathered ominously in the sky, and the wind carried the scent of rain and thunder. One such stormy afternoon, as Rahim was returning home from school, the heavens opened up. Heavy rain poured from the sky, and the wind howled like a hungry wolf. Rahim looked around, his eyes searching for shelter. Suddenly, he heard a faint cry, and he followed the sound. He found little Mina, the daughter of the village baker, standing by the riverbank. Her small body was drenched in rain, and tears streamed down her face. "Where are your parents, Mina?" Rahim asked, his voice gentle. "I was playing," she sobbed, "and I got separated from them." Rahim knew he couldn't leave her alone in the storm. So without hesitation, he rushed to her side. Gently, he lifted her in his arms and started walking towards the nearest shelter, the village mosque. As they reached the mosque, Rahim saw a crowd of villagers gathered inside. He walked up to them, his clothes heavy with rain, and asked, "Has anyone seen Mina's parents?" Relief washed over the faces of the villagers as they recognized Mina and rushed to her, taking her into their warm embrace. Her parents, who had been frantically searching for her, thanked Rahim profusely for his help. "You saved our daughter Rahim," her father said, his voice choked with emotion. "We are forever in your debt." From that day on, Rahim's bravery during the storm became a part of Golabari's folklore, a tale told and retold to remind everyone of the importance of courage and kindness. Time went on and Rahim grew older, but his heart remained as pure as the mountain spring. He continued to help his mother, continued to greet the elders with respect, and continued to be a beacon of kindness for everyone in Golabari. One day, Rahim had an idea. He found some old seeds in a market sack and decided to plant them near the village pond. Every morning, he would water the seeds, hoping they would grow. The other children teased him. "Why waste time on useless seeds?" they said. But Rahim didn't mind. Months passed, and Rahim's persistence paid off. The spot where he had planted the seeds was now in bloom. Bright marigolds stretched their petals towards the sun. Pumpkins lay heavy on the ground, and some guava saplings promised sweet treats for the future. When the school announced a health camp and requested fruits for the children, Rahim brought the first basket of ripe guavas. Soon, the other children stopped teasing. They joined Rahim in watering the plants and weeding the garden. What began as a solitary project became the village children's garden, a place where children came to play, learn, and pick fresh fruit. Rahim became the caretaker of the garden, his heart swelling with pride. As the year drew to a close, Golabari bustled with excitement. It was time for the annual village fair. Stalls were set up, games were planned, and the air was filled with the promise of fun and festivities. This year, however, the fair held a special surprise. The village chairman, a wise and respected elder, had decided to honor Rahim. He called Rahim to the center of the gathering, where everyone was seated. "Today we celebrate a boy who embodies the spirit of our village," he said, his voice echoing Rahim's bravery, honesty, and kindness. He presented Rahim with a new school bag filled with books and stationery. The shiny medal around his neck read simply, "The Heart of Golabari." From that day on, Rahim continued to be the exemplary child of Golabari. His story became a guiding light for the villagers, a reminder that one doesn't need to be rich or powerful to make a difference. All one needs is a kind and honest heart, and the courage to follow it. And so, the tale of Rahim, the golden boy of Golabari, was passed down through generations, ensuring that his spirit of kindness and bravery. Being good doesn't need money or power, just kindness, honesty, and a willing heart. One good child can change an entire village. Courage lives in simple acts.